Hey everyone, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be using this Altenew Hope set, and it is a layered stamp set, and I thought it would be nice to show you a little trick to stretch your supplies, and we're going to use this almost full layered stamp. So this is like the second stamp in the layer, and we're going to create a background for our card. We are going to be using a mini MISTI today as well to do the actual layering for the flower, but to start off we're just going to be using this long rectangle acrylic block for that layer stamp, that one layer stamp, to make this background. Before filming, I already picked out the colors that I'll be using for the layered stamp, and the lightest color that I'm going to use is Sweet 16 by Catherine Pooler. So I'm going to use that for this stamp for the background. I want the background to sort of support the main flower or floral image that we're going to have on there, but also bring in the colors, and I thought that this lightest color would be a nice way to do that. So to create this background, I am just going to randomly stamp it around, and I'm going to make sure that I stamp some of it off of the cardstock because I want it to look almost like a patterned cardstock, and if you keep it all within the margins, it's just going to look like you stamped it on there rather than look like you made a sort of like bigger design, and this is just a piece of it, which is the way that I wanted it to look. So now comes the fun part, and I have to pause you here for one moment because I have to let you know that one time I watched a Justine Hovey video where she used Catherine Pooler inks and she stacked them one on top of another and then took the top one off each time so that you could see each shade, and it was super cool, and I was like, I'm totally stealing that. And let's see how I did. So here I go. Sweet 16 we're going to use for the first layer, and then Pixie Dust, followed by Flirty Fuchsia and Grape Crush. And here I go, just ruining things. So I'm just gonna let Justine Hovey stick to all the cool things from now on. So anyway, those are the shades that I'm going to be using. So I pulled out my mini MISTI, and I normally use my MISTI or stamp positioner to do the best layered stamps. It really helps when you can set them up and then close the top, ink it up, and then close it, and it falls exactly where it's supposed to go every time. So I'm going to ink up this first layer, which should always be your lightest layer, and this is with Sweet 16. So I am going to just shut the top to my MISTI and apply some pressure, and you'll see when I take it off there is a little bit of a line just from where I push the ink pad down, but we don't have to worry about that because the other layers are going to cover it. So I'm going to speed this up, but you can see that I line it up correctly, and then all I have to do is close the top, open it, and then ink it up with my next color, and so on, which again for this happens to be Pixie Dust, Flirty Fuchsia, and then Grape Crush finally. And there is also a couple stamps for the middle piece, and I'm using Shea Butter and Over Coffee, and that's sort of just like where the pollen is, I guess. I'm trying to get scientific here and I really shouldn't, but I think that you know what I'm talking about. And it's the same thing. It's they're layers to each other. So I use Shea Butter first since it's my lightest layer, and then Over Coffee for the little dots that go in the middle. And now moving on, we're going to use Seafoam, followed by Lime Ricky, and finally Grass Skirt. And I'm going to stamp the leaves, and I'm going to stamp 2 sets of leaves because I do want to bring a bit of, or quite a bit of green to this card. I like the contrast and the way that purple and green look together, so I definitely want to add a little bit more than just the one leaf to it. And actually you only see me stamp one of the leaves here, but I do a second one. It's just a little repetitive, so I thought just the one would be fine to show. But here we are after I have cut them out. We've got the one flower and 2 leaves, and I'm just arranging them a little bit just to show what it might look like on the card and to come up with some ideas. So I believe I'm going to glue this here, sort of trying to do some floral arranging, which strangely is such a big part of stamping florals. I don't know if anybody else agrees, but so I like it like that. What I'm going to do is just lift it up a little bit and put some glue on the back. That way I don't mess it up, because I tend to, even when I take a picture sometimes and I take off the die cuts or the cut stamped images, I can never get it back exactly where I want it. So I just peeled it up a little bit, put some glue behind there, and here are the die cut hope words, and I just did two so that I could stack one on top of the other. And I'm going to use this "You recover soon" sentiment, so the sentiment will read, "Hope you recover soon." And I'm just going to emboss this in white on a black piece of cardstock. And to do that, I'm just going to prep it with my powder tool and stamp it in Versamark ink. And I use just a white embossing powder, and then I'm going to heat set that with my embossing, or my heat gun, sorry. You just want to make sure it gets nice and hot, that way it doesn't warp your cardstock as bad. So I'm going to cut that freehand, which is scary, but I ended up doing an okay job. And so I'm going to do a little bit of setup here. I think that I'd like the hope to be just right over the flower there, and then the "You recover soon" sentiment to go just right over that P. I don't want it to be all the way at the bottom, because I think that it might look a little separated from the word that way. So I've decided to glue the die cut word hope on and use foam tape for the "You recover soon." And it still seems like it's missing a little something, so I just have this like aha moment and decide to grab this black and white striped cardstock from, or paper, pattern paper from My Favorite Things, and just cut the smallest strip out and add it to the bottom. And honestly, I don't know what it did or in my mind, but I absolutely love it, and I think it just really completed the card. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video and have maybe learned a couple tips about how you can stretch your layered stamps. You can see that by not using the full layered stamp on the background, you still get that look of the flower, because that middle layer there really has the detail to it still. And I just absolutely love that. As always, my Instagram, blog, Pinterest, everything is linked in the description, along with all of the supplies used. Thank you so much for coming by, and I will see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye.